What's going on, Colts Nation? I appreciate you joining me for another video on the Colts Syndicate. And today's a day where I want to look at the positive, right? There was a lot of positive that came from the Colts 2023 season. Even though it ends in disappointment, there were some good things that happened. And today I want to look at the 5 best things that came from the Indianapolis Colts 2023 season. And we're going to start with Shane Steichen. In fact, that Shane Steichen is establishing the correct culture, right? You're talking about a winning culture where accountability is king. That's a thing that we were talking about last season when Frank Reich ended up getting fired. That was one of the big topics leading up to that point and after that point was accountability. It was one of the key words that came up when Jeff Saturday was hired. A lot of people were talking about the accountability that he started to establish throughout the season. And for Shane Steichen, like we saw all season long, like there was no BS with Coach Steichen throughout the season. Like any kind of funny business, people that were playing bad ended up not on the team, right? Like Deion Jackson, week one fumbles, twice, ends up on a different team. You know what I'm saying? Tony Brown, Isaiah McKenzie end up being suspended. Both of them played very important roles on special teams. And both of them were depth pieces that the Colts were using this year and had to use at different times in the starting lineup. So, like, accountability is a massive part of what happens in the NFL. You know, you have 53 different guys. You got to keep everybody accountable and doing their job. You know, these are a bunch of grown men making a lot of money. You got to keep them on topic. That's the job of the coach. Shane Steichen coming in year one has established a really good culture to go forward. A lot of really good vets that are on the team that absolutely love Shane Steichen. You know, EJ Speed was caught on camera after a win this season saying, "In Shane, we trust." Okay, the players have completely bought in. Going into 2024, that's going to be massive as this very young team, the third youngest team in the NFL, as they continue to grow under Shane Steichen, that culture is only going to grow deeper and deeper. The foundation of that is only going to be more solidified. And that's something that all Colts fans should be very excited about for the foreseeable future. Okay, and the next thing on the list is I already mentioned the third youngest team in the NFL. This is a young team that got a ton of experience, right? Ton of different kinds of experience this year, not just being on the field and getting that experience, but experience of different situations, right? Being up in games and having to maintain a lead, or being down in games and having to come back and having to fight your way back. And some of those were finished, some of those weren't. There were a lot of mistakes made along the way. And by no means was it perfect at all, right? There were a lot of young guys that had some troubles. There were different guys that had troubles. You know, Blake Freeland, DJ Baker, a couple of the guys of note that are young guys that just had a little bit of trouble at different times this year. That's going to happen with a young team, but they got so much experience. You know, I think of Bernard Raymond and what he was like in his rookie season in 2022, and then the development, right? You give him an off season to kind of figure some things out, think some things out, figure out physically what he needs to do to be good in the NFL. And I think that's something that a lot of young guys can look at and say, okay, it just takes one off season. I know what's expected of me. I can come into 2024 more prepared. I can come into 2024 with more of an idea of what it's going to take to get to what we want. So through the ups and the downs of this season, I think there's a lot that can be made for the different types of experience that these young players have. And that's something that could help carry this Colts team into the next era, right? The Peyton era had a lot of success. The Andrew Luck era, for what it was, had a decent amount of success. Now we're looking for another era where we can have success. And I think the building blocks are there with both Shane Steichen and the amount of youth plus the veteran leadership on the team. And when you're sitting here talking about the young talent that's on this team, you have to think about Anthony Richardson first, right? And yes, there's the injury factor. We're all very aware, right? But in the time that we were able to see Anthony Richardson showed flashes of greatness. And when you have not only a good coach, but you also have that quarterback, especially a young quarterback, on a rookie contract, there's more money for other people. Anthony Richardson and being great is going to attract other talent to come to the Colts. It's just the way it's going to be. There will be veterans that will be fine taking a little bit less money to come try to get a ring with Anthony Richardson. And I think that's something that's valuable. Will that happen this upcoming offseason? I'm not sure. The Colts have so many guys really good players that they need to pay that were already on their team for this offseason. Maybe it's next offseason where we really start to see the biggest building blocks, right? You start to see some of these veterans come in and kind of sell out to try to win with Anthony Richardson, or maybe it happens immediately this offseason. But either way, one way or another, at some point with Anthony Richardson being as great as he showed, as long as he can stay on the field, he's going to continue to attract talent. And that is an amazing thing to happen for this franchise. Okay, and as we move on to point number 4 here, the Colts had a winning season. And not only that, but most of the games were exciting. Like even games that the Colts lost. The Browns game was one of the best games in the NFL throughout the season, right? Just had a penalty ruin it at the end. That was one of the best games of the entire season. Saints game, very exciting game. Saints, a lot of explosive plays. Colts were able to put up some points. There were a lot of points scored in Colts games this year. Now, part of that is because of the defense being leaky at different times. But at the end of the day, it was an exciting season to be a Colts fan. Even after Anthony Richardson went out, I thought it'd get more dull after Anthony Richardson. And you had those games. The Bengals game was extremely boring, at least from the Colts perspective, because we never got anything going there. You also think about the Falcons game. That Falcons game was extremely boring to watch. But for the most part, this was a very exciting season for the Colts. And at the end of the day, we end up with a 9-8 record, exceeding all expectations, which we talked about in a video earlier this week. But being able to win 9 games in the first year of Shane Steichen, first year of Anthony Richardson, where he only plays in 4 games, like that's something that at the end of the day, that's a positive thing. Even though the end of the season, was a bit of a downer, it was a really positive season for the Colts. Okay, and Colts fans, for my last point, Colts fans are joined in and having a good season because Colts fans, traditionally Lucas Oil Stadium, not a very rowdy place, right? The RCA Dome was crazy, but traditionally Lucas Oil just isn't that. And this year, that was completely different, right? And it might have something to do with the fact that Pat McAfee is, the biggest public cheerleader for the Colts. And he's talking about, Lucas Oil Stadium being the lighthouse. But Colts fans finally turned up in Lucas Oil, and I think we all realized the potential was actually there for noise in Lucas Oil Stadium when the Colts were playing the Patriots in 2021, right? The Carson Wentz year. You think about that. Jonathan Taylor breaks off that, 69-yard touchdown to put that game away. And that was the loudest I've ever heard Lucas Oil Stadium. Like, I wasn't there, just watching it on TV. I was like, okay, that is the loudest moment ever in Lucas Oil Stadium. And look, CJ Stroud even came out and said that the loudest stadium he played in all season long was Indianapolis. Okay, and that's something that I haven't been able to go to a game in Lucas Oil in a long time. I moved to Florida a while ago. I just haven't been back for a game in Lucas Oil in a long time. But I've always been steadfast in the fact that Colts fans needed to be louder at games, needed to have more of an impact on games. And that was able to happen all of 2023. Colts players were talking about it week in and week out and how the energy was just different and how the crowd was just insane. So going forward, that's what I hope. I want us to forever be one of those places that are a problem for people when they come play, right? You think about Seattle, think about New Orleans, think about Kansas City, right? These are places that are extremely rowdy. New England, a place that is underrated, one of the most rowdy places to have to play. Pittsburgh is on that list. Like, I want Indianapolis to be in that upper echelon. We need to be a problem. And I think with the team being exciting, with the team being winners, you have Shane Steichen, you have Anthony Richardson, you have a lot of young talent. I think there's a lot to be excited about. I think there's a lot to make noise for going forward. And I think Colts fans are just going to continue to commit and be behind this team more and more as time goes on. I think we're going to end up as one of those teams, through this Anthony Richardson, Shane Steichen era. We're going to pick up a lot of Colts fans. A lot of people are going to jump that bandwagon because we're going to be an exciting football team and we're going to do a lot of winning. All right, so that's going to do it for my list of 5 best things that came from the 2023 Colts. I'd like to know what you think about my list. Do you have anything else that you thought of that was a blessing coming out of 2023? If so, you let me know down in the comments section. We're going to continue to have videos on this channel every single day, so make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you have notifications turned on so that you get notified when all those videos do come out. Of course, I appreciate you stopping by for another video. And as always, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and go Colts.